who else could possibly be better suited for our pairings predictor than you? Not only 12 Solheim Cup appearances, 2 assistant captain appearances, most recently on the winning European Solheim Cup team on US soil. Before we get into what your pairings might be for Captain Laura Davies, give us a bit of an insight into how that looks, the process of picking the pairings from the captain and assistant captain's point of view.
Well, I think this is obviously just from a Solheim point of view, but I know the captains that I've worked with, Beanie, and obviously other captains when I was a player, they kind of ask the players who they don't want to play with. They wouldn't go in necessarily with who you do want to play with, because they just want to eliminate as few people as possible, because they need as many people in the pot to pick from as they possibly can. So that's always a starting point. Then it's the captain and the vice captains that then start to come up with some formulas and some pairings that you really like.
Yeah, starting from who you don't want to be paired with, which might be interesting as we're going to have you pick out Team USA's foursomes pairings on Friday morning. Who would you go for?
Well, I think it's obvious. Everyone keeps going on about these two, but you'd have to start with Jordan Spieth, without a question, and Justin Thomas. Good friends, that's my starting point. Yeah, a star pairing, we're going to lock them in. They'll be leading the way. How important is that for them to lead and lead strongly? Well, that's why you have them up there. They know that the Europeans are going to know who's going to start, so they're there to be shot at. But when you're the top guys, you want that. You want someone to come on and say, right, we know who we're playing against probably, and let's get it on and let's see who's good enough. All right, who's next? Next, I think I'd probably go with Cantlay and put him in with Xander, because I just think that's going to be a terrific combination for foursomes. Maybe not so much for the four ball, but certainly foursomes. Yeah, two incredibly steady players, and certainly their personalities match each other. We're going to lock that one in. Aside from that leading duo, is there another position that's perhaps secondly most important? Well, I like the anchor, the fourth match, and there's someone I've got in there for that very reason. So, but before then, it's going to be a little bit controversial. Everyone wants to see it. Koepka and DeChambeau. Now, it's not just to wind everybody up and say. I just think that their games would be suited with each other, and they have to put things aside. It's all about the team. And I think if I was a player in the European team, I wouldn't necessarily want to play against those two. So that's why I've put them there. All right, we're going to lock those in. We're going to talk about them in a little bit, but who's going to be in your anchor pairing? Well, the reason I said before, Dustin Johnson speaks for himself, absolutely fantastic, can play all formats. No one, you'd want to have him as your partner, and someone who's really impressed this year, 3 wins in the wraparound season, and just a great player, all-round steady golfer. So that's a good anchor for the Americans for me. Locked those in. Dame Laura Davies giving the people what they want with the Bryson DeChambeau Brooks Koepka pairing. All right, explain yourself here with this one. Let's dive into this a bit more. Is this you as captain? Would you genuinely do this, or is this you as viewer wanting to see this happen? Well, a bit of both. But I think if I was the captain and I had a problem with 2 players that, I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of it. That they've had dinners together this week and everything. Hopefully they've settled their scores, and they'll realise that they can get a point for the American team on the Friday morning, which is so important, especially as Europeans tend to be the stronger in the foursomes play. So as a captain, you need to be able to do whatever you want. I know they say they're not mates, but just go and win a point. Suck it up and get that point for the team. I love it. I love that insight. All right, let's go into this leading duo, Spieth Thomas. We know they've got incredible history, and most recently in Paris together, as well as their personal history of growing up together. The results speak for themselves. I mean, just one foursomes loss, and that can almost be excused because that was to Mollywood, the fabulous duo that was. But what a record, and how much will they draw on the confidence of the record that they have together here this week? Yeah, well, I can only look back to when I used to play with Alison Nicholas, a great friend of mine, and we were good mates. We grew up through the amateur ranks, and you start winning matches together throughout the years of different Solheim Cups, for them Ryder Cups, and you just get something going. It's almost a natural. You know who's going to hit the first tee shot. You know that I knew that the putts were going to be read by Al, and these guys, they'll have an understanding. That we play in a tournament called the Evian. Obviously, everyone knows the Evian Masters. And there's a junior Evian Masters, and on the side of the clubhouse is the best picture ever. It's those 2 guys when they're about 14 or 15, I think, maybe a bit older, but it doesn't look like it. And that's how far back these guys go in top competition. They've been rivals since they can remember playing golf, but now they're best mates and rivals normally, but at the moment they're teammates, and they showed how good they were in Paris.
And how key is that, just in terms of that relationship, and the famous thing is never saying sorry? How important, I mean, I know it's important, but really how key is it to unlocking your best golf that you know your teammate understands you probably with just a look? You don't even really have to say anything.
Yeah, the look's worse than the sorry. You don't want the look, you know, because you know if you've hit a stupid shot or you've not listened to what they've said, they wanted a certain number and you didn't give it to them in the layup. And that's why great mates can do this under the extreme pressure that these boys are going to be under during the next sort of 3 days. Yeah, and that sort of thing, that's why they're going to be formidable. They'll probably go out first, I imagine, most matches, and just let the Europeans come at them and see what they can do.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Laura, Captain Laura, for your pairings predictor. That's Team USA foursomes, as decided by Laura, giving the people what they want, as well as the star team pairing of Justin and Jordan.